Welcome back to Traben's Tomes. I'm Traben, these are my tomes, and today we're doing the What's Next book tag. This is a shorter tag I saw off of the channel Hannah's Books. I will link to the video below. I will also give credit to the original creator of the tag. Shorter tag, just 4 questions about your upcoming reading and the way that you select books to read next. Question number 1 is your decision for choosing what to read next random, or is there some method to your madness? For me, this is kind of a mix of the two. So I do have a cart that I keep my TBR on, and it has grown quite a bit lately, where I'm having to stack books on top of other books. The choice of what I select next off this cart is kind of just based on my feeling at the time. Now we'll cut to last week, Traben, to talk about what is on the cart right now and why it's there. All right, so here is my TBR cart. On the bottom row, we've got things that I'm holding on to for maybe different shorts or different videos I'm working on. I really need to clear that up because that's some old stuff that I don't need there anymore. The second level is usually the books that I have read and are just holding for the week until I get to my review. You can tell right now it is completely empty because I have not actually finished anything so far this week. And then at the top is my actual TBR. So you'll see that this is made up of a bunch of various things. We've got some new releases here. We've got my Fairy Loot book, the next Dungeon Crawler Carl, because I'm currently reading through that series. Strange the Dreamer is part of my 25 for 2025. It's something I've had for a while. I think my wife actually picked this one up, but it's on my cart now. So I'm going to be taking a look at it soon. We've got the art of the book plate, because for a while I was thinking about creating a book plate style icon for the channel and was getting into like the different ideas behind book plates and the different designs. So it's a nonfiction book all about book plates. We have Sea of Tranquility, which I got from last year's summer reading program. So I really need to take a look at that. Murder Your Employer is another one on my 25 for 2025. We've got House of Leaves, which I've just been hearing so many good things about and feels so bizarre. I really want to read like some weird books, some bizarre books, and maybe do a video on those. Never a Hero is the sequel to I think it's Always a Monster, and I really enjoyed that one, so that's a YA sequel book. This one here is a Barnes & Noble YA book club book. So I was doing that series when my channel first started up of reviewing all the YA book club books. That's the reason why I picked that one up. It's been on the stack for a while. It's been on the cart for a very long while. Neon Ghosts I picked up when I got my Wraithmark edition of Legends and Lattes. So that's Daniel Green's science fiction series. I have not started that one up yet. And then here at the end we have The Art of Extremity, which is a book by Daniel Warren Johnson. So it's just a nice little art book with some different information. If we go to the back here, I've got some additional things back in the back. So we've got The Last Wish, which is the first Witcher series. This is another one I got for summer reading from last year. Really need to get to those. We've got a copy of Duel Masters. This one I picked up because I was doing the review for Destroy All Humans They Can't Be Regenerated, and the tie-ins with some of the other trading card game manga and comics that have come before it. So I touched on this a little bit. I have not read volume 2, but I probably will take a look at that. I've got the Whisperwicks, which is just something that looked cool on the shelf at Barnes & Noble. So that one, this is one I haven't heard anything about. This is not anything that was recommended on BookTube, just something I wanted to pick up. Didn't have a plan for it. I've got Silas Marner, which is my great shame because this is the novel that my literary criticism kids read not this previous year, but the year before, I think. So it's been on my shelf for a good while. I keep saying I'm going to read it, and I just have not done so. Another YA book club book from Barnes & Noble, The Lilies. I think this one deals with time travel. So, sounded pretty cool. And then back here, we've got Something is Killing the Children, the script book. We've got an A.G. Tsuburaya nonfiction memoir, or biography, rather. So, this is like a nonfiction book I really want to read. Over on this end, we have the books for Summerween. So I've got Stage Fright, Strange House Volume 1, and Violet. So those are all for a readathon that's coming up. So a couple more I've got to pick up for that readathon. But as you can see, my TBR cart is just a hodgepodge of different things. Some series I'm reading, some books that looked interesting, things that are recommended off of BookTube, things I'm getting for readathons. There's just a whole lot going on, and it's kind of a mismatch of a bunch of different genres and styles. So yeah, it's kind of a weird hodgepodge of things. So hopefully that gives you a sense of the type of stuff that shows up on my cart and the various categories I try to organize them into, the different reasons why I might choose to read the next book. Question number 2 is, are your criteria for selecting nonfiction books different than your criteria for selecting fiction books? And kind of. I don't read a lot of nonfiction, to be perfectly honest, and it tends to be when I find a nonfiction author that I like, I tend to stay and try to find more from that author. So authors like Mary Roach and Sam Keen, I have gotten several of their books because I really enjoy the way that they mix history and science with humor. So if you've not read any of these, I'd recommend picking them up. My favorite from Sam Keen is The Ice Pick Surgeon. So this is all about the different, very questionable things we've done in the pursuit of scientific discovery. And then Stiff from Mary Roach is about all the things that happen with our bodies when they die. Both of these authors have a very humorous spin to the way that they write, and so I have several other books from Mary Roach. I've read Gulp. I think we have Packing for Mars, which is all about space travel. And then from Sam Keen, I have read The Disappearing Spoon. Again, they were all entertaining, but to various degrees, whether or not I like the subject matter kind of determines where they fall in my ranking. I also really like the author Michio Kaku, who I first became aware of due to his appearances on the History Channel as a futurist. His are less funny, but the subject matter is very interesting to me. So this is The Physics of the Future. There was one about like quantum physics and those ideas, and his entire purpose seems to be taking these very complicated and upper level scientific discoveries and ideas and kind of making them more digestible for an everyday audience. So some really interesting things in those two books. And again, this is someone who I became interested in the author and then sought out their work. In a similar vein, I believe the last nonfiction book I read was Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green. I've known John Green by reputation for years. His young adult books, but also with his YouTube channel and Crash Course, which I play regularly in my classroom. But Everything is Tuberculosis just came out, I think last month, and I wanted to read it soon after it was released, and so I picked it up. I would say even more than fiction choices, the author of a nonfiction work is the selling point for me. Once I find an author that I really enjoy in nonfiction, I tend to really want to prioritize their work and find things by that same author. Because I do find, for me, a lot of nonfiction is very dry. So when I do find authors who write in an engaging way or write in a way that I feel like grabs me, then I want to find more from that author. I feel generally with fiction, especially being in the booktube space, there's a lot more just casually being recommended fiction books. I feel like in booktube and book talk, fiction and YA is given more priority or given more of a voice than nonfiction tends to be. And so I tend to get a lot more recommendations just from my subscriptions and things like that for the fiction reads. With the nonfiction reads, it has been a lot more of my own, like going out and finding authors that I like and finding the tone I want them to hit for them to be successful and for me to look up more from that particular author. So question number 3 is, do other people influence your choice of what to read next? And I would say obviously yes. The answer to that question is yes. Not only in the booktube space, like a lot of the things that I pick up for my cart and for future reads are based off of videos I watch and recommendations I get from other booktubers or people online or my friends. So a lot of that does play a very big role in what I select and what I pick up. Now, does someone's opinion or someone telling me to read the next book impact it? Like when I actually go to the shelf and pick the next one, not as much, but the narrow pool that I have to draw from, I think, is greatly influenced by the people around me, not only in my personal life but in the realm of booktube. And then question number 4 is, aside from other people, what might influence your choice of what to read next? I think the biggest criteria here, beyond just like recommendations, tends to be like new releases. I tend to want to read quickly because as a booktuber, I want to be getting my thoughts out there soon and making sure that I'm making content that will be fresh and new and something that people haven't seen before. It's harder to come in to a series that people have talked about a million times. Even talking about something like the Stormlight Archives is in some ways more difficult because there is already such a huge fan base out there with their own thoughts and feelings and understandings of the book. And so I think I gravitate toward maybe reading things that haven't been talked about as much or things that are newer, just so I can hopefully start that conversation and get other people's perspectives, but not be mired in huge fandom that has all these competing voices. Another factor that would greatly impact my reading is if there's a readathon going on. So there is a section of my cart right now that is dedicated to the upcoming Summerween readathon, and so that would also impact my choice of what to read. But I would argue that that's probably also other people. That's a person setting up a readathon, and even though they didn't tell me read A, B, C, and D, there were criteria for selecting the books, and so in that week that's what I'm going to be looking at, and that was determined by that readathon. To finish up, I'm going to tag a few other people to take on this 4-question book tag. So I'm going to tag Jen at A Jen Who Reads. I'm going to tag my wife over at Amanda Should Be Reading. I will go ahead and tag the Astral Library again. I always like hearing from her. And finally, I'll tag Obscure Book Adventures. So I'll put them in the description and check out their channels. I liked doing this tag because it was a little bit different than things I've done in the past, and I feel like with those book tags, they're like, choose a book that does X. I tend to pull from the same handful every time, and interesting to sit down and think about, well, why do I pick out the books that I pick out, and why have I arranged things this way? When I go to pick up that book, what is driving that decision? So I hope others have fun with the tag as well. But that's going to do it for me today. Thanks for stopping by. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe so we can grow this corner of our BookTube community. I hope your reading journey is going well, and until the next one, take care.